So today's session is on STAAR Redesign with Cami. So we are just going to focus on a couple of the new STAR item types. We're going to focus on the multi-select, on the short constructed response, and on the blank slash dropdown. Alrighty, so today's objectives. The first thing we need to do is learn how to upload a PDF into Cami if you already don't know how to do that. The second thing is what I stated. These are the new item types we are going to learn how to do. When you're using Cami in the classroom, this is the t-test alignment connection that you will have is the planning dimension 1.4. And of course, we have our technology TEKS and our ISTE standards connections. Alrighty, to get us started, I do want to get a little self-assessment and kind of read the room on how comfortable you are with using Cami currently. So if you could, in the chat, go ahead and rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 5 with how comfortable you are with using Cami currently. Okay, I see some 3s. I see a few 2s, a 4.5. All right, so kind of looking at an average in the middle, which I would say is maybe I use it, maybe not so much. Maybe I've heard about it, maybe I've tried it, but maybe wasn't quite successful. So that's okay. We don't have anybody that is crying, saying, no, I don't want to use Cami, and nobody that is like, I'm ready to teach this course for you, Casey. So that is awesome. We did have somebody say that they were a 4.5, Eric Renee. If you do feel comfortable, if you could take yourself off mute and tell us what your favorite thing about Cami is, I would appreciate that.
My favorite thing about Cami, outside of being able to annotate on the document and highlight in various colors, is the ability to like record comments or to record myself while giving feedback. So sometimes for essays, I'll record myself when I'm grading the kids' feedback, and they can see me reading their essays and getting that little personal touch that you don't always get when you don't have time to do a one-on-one conference.
I like that. I like that you said, I've never thought about that. Them hearing you and seeing you read their work. Because oftentimes, I mean, it's even known like when we read our own work, sometimes you skip over things and you read it like how you think you wrote it. And so I'm sure that's pretty eye-opening to them to hear you read it and go, oh, so that's how that sounded, or that's how they took it. Wow, that's pretty eye-opening. Anybody else want to share before we move on? Even if you rated yourself a 2 or 3, maybe the reasoning behind that ranking?
I use it to, my name's Letty Esparza, and
Okay.
I use Cami to use the Avid strategy of mark the text. So my students do quite a bit of, I upload the whatever the passage is, and my students go in there and they highlight and they annotate in the Cami program.
Awesome. I love that. I love that you said highlight, annotate, showing their thinking, right? I recently
Yes,
was, I
a lot of my
recently, go
a
ahead, go ahead.
lot of my students, my GT kids, they did a lot more in that Cami program with, because that was the only program I used for the new STAR redesign because of the new and improved questionings that my students would receive, and so I just stuck with Cami all year, and my students we revised, edited, annotated, drew in there. They did a whole bunch of stuff in that. I didn't do it; they did. So
Yes. I was very very impressed. The other day I was interviewing a 5th grade student, and I said, what's your favorite thing to use on your device? And she said, Cami. I said, really? Can you tell me why? And she said, I love how it allows me to organize my thinking. And I was like, whoa, that was a very good explanation. I'm very impressed. And she goes, I love how I can, type something. It lets me keep it very organized. I can click and drag it to the exact place I want it. I can highlight, and there's all different kinds of highlight tools. She's like, I love it. So I was like, wow, I couldn't have said it better myself. Alrighty, so moving on. So the first thing we need to do is download the following link. So let's see if before we even open our Google Drive, if this will automatically download in your Google Drive. So like if I click mine right now, it automatically went to my Google Drive. A lot of you might already be in a browser and it may already do that. If it doesn't, then you will need to open up your Google Drive in the background. Bottom line is we need to get to where I'm at, to where the PDF stands in your Google Drive. If you have any trouble with this, let me know, and I can definitely walk you through it. Once you have it in your Google Drive, if you could just give me like a thumbs up in the chat or a got it, so I know that I can go ahead and move on.
Is that the 2021 release test you have up on the screen?
This is the 2022.
22, okay.
Yes, I can share this link in the chat. Looking in the chat, I also see that Rita commented that Cami also provides accommodations for students who need the text-to-speech and can highlight the document and get it read for them. You are absolutely correct. Alrighty. I'm hoping that everybody was able to get it downloaded. If you weren't able to, the link is in there in the chat. Oh, you're welcome, Amber Meredith. Okay. So moving on. When you're here, you want to click Open With, and you want to click Annotate with Cami. Okay, so you can do this with any resource you have. Okay, all it has to do is be in your Google Drive. Okay, that's what I find easiest. I just have anything in my Google Drive and hit Annotate with Cami. So now it's going to upload, and I just continue with my Google. And then I log in with my district email. And then follow the prompts. Okay, and now I'm here. If it takes a little long, that's because the document is a little long. It is 36 pages. So keep that in mind whenever you are uploading a document or choosing one. If it is a little bit on the longer side, it will just take a little bit longer. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds just so I can ensure everybody's on the same page. Okay, while we're on this screen, in order to do the questions that we're going to do today, we need to turn on a function, a setting in our settings. This is a new thing that Cami has come out with. It is a beta feature. So we need to go to click up here where your little profile icon is. So it's most likely is your initials, and you're gonna click settings. Then you're gonna scroll to the bottom, all the way to the bottom. And then you're gonna click where it says Cami questions for Google Classroom. Go ahead and toggle that on.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
What if you're not using Google Classroom and you're using Canvas? Does this change anything in the settings? Do you need to
No.
change anything?
So I don't use Google Classroom either. The only reason why they advertise it for Google Classroom is because it offers a grading feature. However, the purpose of this session is not for grading, it's for the exposure of the tool and the type of question for the students. And so for those purposes, yes, anybody can use the tool, the question tool. But if you have Google Classroom, then you can enable it to grade it for you.
I see. Thank you.
Okay, so hopefully everybody has that setting on, and then you can exit out of that and get back to here.
Hey Casey, I'm so sorry. I've been having a lot of connection issues. Can
Mhm.
you repeat what to do on the settings so I can see it real quick?
Yes, when you go to settings, you're gonna scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you're gonna put the Cami questions for Google Classroom on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now you can start marking this up as is. You could also take this and split and merge this, because maybe I don't want to use the entire 36 pages. I don't know about y'all, but my students probably wouldn't appreciate that very much on a regular basis, and they probably wouldn't appreciate it very much if they came to school and they saw STAAR test, right? So I am, for the purpose of today, going to show you how to just pick a few pages, because a lot of my resources and materials are long. So I just want to pick a few. So I'm clicked up here to the 3 lines. We call that like a hamburger. And I'm going to click split and merge document. Continue to split and merge. Okay. And it should pop up right here. If for some reason it doesn't pop up here, just exit out of that little tab and just click it again. the split and merge. Okay. I'm going to continue going for the sake of time. If for some reason you run into a snag, something doesn't happen, then go ahead and come off mute and let me know. All right, I'll go ahead and click next. And now I'm going to look for just a couple pages that have maybe questions that lend themselves nicely to the item types that we're going to be doing today. So if you need to expand a page, you can by just clicking the arrows right here that kind of look like they're going to expand it from corner to corner. So maybe I choose this one. I'm going to drag and drop it. Maybe I like this one. So on yours, you can pick the same ones as me. You can pick different ones. It totally doesn't matter. Just pick a few of them. I'm probably going to pick maybe 4 to 5. Okay, so here I have my 5 pages. I'm not going to demonstrate this for the training, but I do want to just bring to your attention, you can also combine documents. So if you had multiple resources that you wanted to combine, you would go to merge mode, and you could also at that point bring in another document. It would bring you to this screen, and then you could pull from both documents. Okay. All right, so here's what I want. I'm going to go ahead and click export. It's going to download, save to my Google Drive, continue. So if you go back to your Google Drive, I went to recent, and there's my most recent one that it dropped. So you can double click it. I see it's only 5 pages, and then annotate with Cami. Give everybody about 30 seconds to get back on here. Again, you didn't have to split your document. You can use the entire document if you want. This was just to show you another little side bonus with today's session. Okay. So over here on this little left panel, you see we have a whole bunch of tools and options. Here is where we are going to be spending most of our time for our session. It is the question tool. So here it's saying, introducing our Cami questions. So we did have an attendee ask about why did it say Google Classroom? So like I stated, it was just for the purpose of the auto grading. So yes, everybody can use it. It just won't be auto graded, but I do see down here that it is coming. I know like for our district, for SAISD, we do use Canvas. And so that is pretty exciting that it will be integrated in the future. Alrighty, so first I want to show you the multiple selection. Okay, so if I go back to the presentation, this is what the multi-select will look like. These are the content areas and grades in which it will be tested. So this is a 5th grade example of science. So here you'll see the grades and the content areas. So here they will obviously have to choose multiple correct answers. On the test, it will tell them how many to choose. Okay. All right. So let's go back to our Cami. And we're going to collect, I'm going to go to this question. Okay. Multiple choice. And you just have to click somewhere. So if you notice, let me go. Once I click somewhere, then this will pop up. Okay. It's okay that it looks a little messy right now. I don't want to cover anything up from this question quite yet, because I'm going to use this to guide me. Now, if I need to make this a little bit smaller so I can see the question in its entirety, then I can do so. Okay, I can move this around just a little bit. Alrighty. So I don't have to type this question. I can, or I could just put the options. Okay, I can use the question stem that's already provided. So why not work smarter and not harder? So I'm going to change this. I'm going to put all my answer choices that I could possibly put. So I'm using this to guide me. So I'm pulling this randomly. So let's just say the answer is G, right? So I'm going to put all the answer choices from G and then another one from another answer choice. So if you will create one with me on yours.
Could we just put the letters to match it, like option F?
Well, you're going to end up covering this because this is a multiple choice and you're making a multiple selection. I'll show you what I mean by that because that might sound a little confusing. So if you see here, I have all the choices that are listed within these 4 choices. Okay. I'm now going to cover with a shape because this is going to confuse the students if they start seeing a whole bunch of types of questions. Okay. I just covered with a rectangle. However, I need this filled with white. So do you see my cursor still looks like it has the crosshairs to draw another shape? I need to go back to the select tool. So I have the ability to select the shape. So now I can choose to fill it, right? But I want to fill it white. So now it's covered. So now I can move this underneath here. I can set my answer key. Do you see how I mentioned that I don't have to type the question? It's because I can choose to not show the question. So now where it said type question, it's off. Here's where you turn it into a multiple selection. because I'm going to turn this to multiple answers, and I'm going to click the correct answers. And that's all there is to it. And if you want to go ahead and preview what it looks like for the students, you just click preview questions, and then this is what they will see. So this won't confuse them.
And that doesn't move for the students, which you just put in all of those multiple choices?
No, they can only click them.
Oh,
I know, it's so cool. You can also, these plus signs don't change the size, they change the orientation of it. So if I click this, I don't know who would maybe want their answers like this, maybe if it was like a graph, but you might have them instead of like this, maybe like this. So yes. All right, any questions on that answer choice?
This means it can be graded automatically if you put it in Canvas in Google Classroom, but you will have to grade it yourself if you put it in Canvas.
Yes, for now. Any other questions with how to create the question?
Yeah, can I see how you covered up the answers again?
Yes. So let me move this. So what I did, I'm going to delete this. So I went over here to the shapes and I just clicked, I just clicked shapes. And as soon as you click shapes, I want to click a rectangle because that's all I want. And then my cursor turns into like the little crosshairs to select. So I click and I drag over and I let go, and it defaults to this transparent rectangle with a border. Okay, the tricky part that you have to get used to is to remember that if I go to click this again, it just is going to keep making rectangles. Okay, and you can just click undo up here. You have to remember to go back up here at the top left and choose your select again. So now I can select this box and I can fill it with white. Good question. Any other questions? Alrighty. And you will be getting my presentation. And in the presentation, it goes over how to do each item type as well as it has a video attached to each one. All right. The next item type is the inline choice. So this is what an inline choice will look like. Here is the content areas and grades in which it will be in. This is not what it exactly looks like on the student screen. This is what it looks like as a teacher resource in PDF form. When the students click the drop-down box, they will just see the answer choices, not A and B. They just see the words. So as you see, this is one sentence, okay, one statement, and it has two inline choices. So this question type will differ depending on the content and grade level. So, for example, this is how it looks in math, but in reading, you see it in the writing portion, asked like what kind, it'll be asked in one drop down in the sentence, and it may ask which transition word best helps make the sentence more clear, something like that. So it's not always two per question. So let's go over how to do an inline choice. So you can go ahead and locate the question. So let's just say I want to do this one about the rock. I'm going to, remember, I don't want to get rid of anything in the question yet because I'm using that to guide me. I'm going to click drop down. And remember, nothing's going to appear. You have to click somewhere in order for that question to appear. Okay, now this one is getting a little tricky. Okay, this right here is would just be like if you were going to type a question and then there's randomly a whole bunch of just a drop down. That's not STAAR format. And the whole point of this is to get your students exposed to how they will see it as STAAR format, right? So this one's going to be a little bit more work, not difficult, just maybe a little bit more tedious. You're going to be going back and forth between the drop down and the text box. So you're going to be typing everything that won't be a drop down. So let's say the answer is, I don't know, H, okay? So I'm going to get a text box and I'm going to click. Maybe you have to click twice sometimes, okay? And I'm going to start typing H because I'm going to say that's what maybe the answer is. So I'm going to click, I'm going to start typing water. And let's say moving is going to be the drop down, okay? So I'm going to leave this text box here. Okay. Now remember, my cursor is still stuck on the text box. So what I can do is instead of going back and forth, I already made my part for inline. I know that my inline is going to be this word moving. I'll just go ahead and finish typing the rest of the question. So I'm going to type and dropping the rock. Okay, I'm going to move this over here. Now I want to go back and get my select tool. Okay. All right. Do I have any science teachers out here who could possibly give me some drop down options that maybe would be some options for moving? So I'm going to put moving for one. What could be, maybe give me two more options?
Related to this topic is weathering, erosion, and deposition. So maybe one of those words.
So let's see, water depositing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think the answer is really F.
You think it's a probably. I'm just picking for training purposes. So let's say water, I could even put depositing particles. Oh, depositing particles. So let's just keep it at that. So I'm going to put delete options C and D. I'm going to set my answer key. And remember, you want to turn the display question part off. You don't want to show any part of question. You just want the drop down part. There's going to be one answer, and let's say it's depositing particles. Okay, so now I'm going to get this in line with the water, with the rest of my sentence as best I can. Nobody is going to get it absolute, but that's okay. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now that I think I have my drop down, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cover up my answer choices for that question. Go to select. And once you start doing this a couple times, you start getting into a groove and you get the hang of things. And before you know it, you're just rocking and rolling. So you do have to click and drag them up here. So now I can go to preview question, and this is what the student will see. Water moving and dropping the rock, water depositing particles and dropping the rock. Thank you, Leticia. She said weathering, erosion, deposition. Perfect. Yes, it does definitely take some time getting used to creating the question types. But once you get into the swing of things, it does go, I promise, very quick. I know Miss Bella, if she, let me see if she's still in. Miss Bella is still in here. She is a teacher that I work with, and she is quite the Cami expert, and she can probably attest to this, that once you use Cami, it becomes like second nature, right, Miss Bella?
Yes. In fact, what I want to learn how to do next is, you know how the Google can grade it? I actually would like to figure out like a short constructed response, how it can give either 1 or 2 points based on the student's answers, so that I don't actually have to like manually go in and do all that myself. It would be really neat to figure out a way for it to actually score for me.
Maybe you and I can stay after.
Yeah, it'll be a gold mine to figure that out.
Yeah. Okay, so now Ms. Bella led me right into our last question type. So that is our short constructed response. So for this one, I think it's the most simple one to create. It's just a matter of going to question, clicking short constructed answer, and then putting it here. Now, I will say for this one, you will probably want to reword your question and stem. Okay, so if we look at our short constructed responses, normally there is a statement to get the student thinking, right? A little connector to what's the prompt and the topic. So I would put students, and you could actually copy and paste this. So you could, I believe, oh, am I lying? Oh, I think it's showing white. No, maybe not. Oh, let me get rid of that one. Okay, so we are going to go to short answer, and I'm going to put students conduct experiments to investigate friction. Okay, so it's stating which experiment will best test the effect of friction on objects. So you could say, what kind of experiment could test the effect of friction on objects? Now, I will say this is going to be a very broad, short constructed response. You would probably want to, do this on a question that's going to be a little bit more targeted. I would highly suggest doing a short constructed response with a question that you could also maybe do like a hot text where they have to find text evidence to support it. But this is how you do that. Okay, so then you just take your shapes, cover the, get your select, fill it white, get this over here. So actually now, once you have this, you can actually adjust it too, because actually I have to cover the whole thing. And you can actually make this a little bit bigger if you want. Let's say you want 24. And we can preview it and see what the student will see. And there you have it. Any questions with that item type? Well, right in the nick of time. That is our time. I hope that this, I know it was a lot. Like I said, I am giving you the presentation. This is full of screenshots. It is full of videos straight from Cami. If you are, oh my gosh, I love the comments. It is so rad. I love it. I didn't figure this out until after I left teaching, and I'm so jealous because I want to take over somebody's classroom and do this with their students. It is so awesome. I highly encourage you to play around with it. If you are in district, reach out. I will put my email in the chat. I hope you all enjoyed it. I know it's fast and furious. I should have done a 2-hour session really and gone over some more because I'm like, oh, there's so many other item types I could have shown.